I want to see what Returnal on PC is like, because you guys will ask me all the time that whether I have played Returnal, if I should go back to Returnal, if I could ever do a critique of Returnal. And I've said many times, I'm not opposed to Returnal. I'm not opposed to it. I think it's actually like a very, very well built roguelike, and I find it very interesting. But I suck at these games. I'm just not very good at them. And some people will play these games and, you know, you go on a run that's 20, 30 minutes long and then you die and you're like, I know what I have to do now. I'm going to get motivated. I'm going to go. I just get like, I start screaming and like, I get mad. So I just don't respond too well. But maybe this PC port will take it up a notch. I don't know. Let's see. Carrick, explain it. Take it away.
Returnal originally launched on the PS5 to the failure rally call of, but I was able to beat Dark Souls as if it was required to somehow play identically to those games, and it defeated quite a lot of gamers along the way. Returnal was a breath of fresh air, a recycling center for gameplay in the shape of Celine finding herself repeating the same event horizon exploration on a dying planet and dying again and again and again. The victim of some ancient, evil, cruel overlord who seemed to think that her dying a ton of times would bring them closer together like a sci-fi suicide pact. Let's see how Returnal has made the jump to the PC, and if it's done so, error-free. My brand is me, my sponsor is me. Subscribe if you like the videos. We're going to have a ton of stuff, including PlayStation VR items to review, more podcasts, more games coming up for review. It's going to be a busy time. Hit the notify all button.
Am I the only one that gets like an actual like headache in those bullet storm segments, or bullet hell? Is that what they call it? Bullet hell? Like it actually starts to fry my brain a little when it's just an ocean of glowing dots floating towards you. Like it starts to break my brain.
You, as Celine, an astronaut in charge of a high-tech space shuttle, crash lands on a transforming...
What was that? Did you see
You,
that?
as Celine, an astronaut in charge of a high...
Huh. It's just like a quick shot of just right between her eyes. That's weird.
tech space shuttle crash lands on a transforming alien world, and she's cut off from all help and must now struggle to stay alive. She keeps dying and retrying and has to begin her quest over each time.
That is the perfect definition of this game. You struggle to stay alive for like 30, 40 hours. How long is Returnal though? Anybody in chat finish it? How long is it? Because I probably played it for like 25. I don't know how long. I haven't checked in a long time. But I would guess off the dome probably like 20 hours, and I suck. 15 hours? 15 hours my ass, Crimson. No way. No way. Maybe if you're a god. I played it a lot. And dear God Almighty, it was not 15 hours. Maybe I mean, I do suck at these, so maybe, but that's probably most of it. But 15 hours, you said that so confidently, like 15 hours. It's like if somebody tells me, yeah, get good. Yeah, it's a me problem. Like no joke, it's a me problem. But it's like when people say, oh yeah, Bloodborne, it's an awesome like 80-hour game. It's like it really probably shouldn't take you 80 hours, but I'm not going to say that. Yeah, whatever. It's like 80 hours if you're really struggling with it, but it should take you maybe 20 hours if you're accustomed to those things. But for Returnal, like if this is a 15, 20-hour game for like you guys who are good at these games, then for me it's probably like a 50-hour game because I'm just not good at these types of bullet hell games. I don't know, they trigger me.
You play, you're going to learn that your arsenal evolves with each cycle of the game itself, much like
Luke, please play Yakuza 0. Oh, I have it downloaded through Game Pass. I do. Bloodborne is a great Infinity game because I still didn't finish. I was going to try to come up with some joke like, oh, like sex. I love that game too. Never finish. But didn't really work. Maybe bullet chess takes about 2 minutes and then you're done.
like the planet. Each iteration of the loop introduces fresh permutations, giving you the freedom to experiment with alternate tactics as you continue to battle. Returnal is, at its most basic, a third-person shooter with roguelike elements, which sees you consistently retrying as you work your way through the levels that also change subtly each time you play, finding story snippets and crashing static cutscenes and dreams.
I will say, if you're going to play this on PC, no joke, you should get a DualSense and use the DualSense. Because this game actually does a really cool thing with how they use the triggers, the adaptive triggers, where like a halfway press is one fire mode, and then a full press where you actually feel the trigger give way is a different fire mode. It's super, super cool. It's still probably one of the coolest implementations of the DualSense like adaptive trigger haptic thing that I've ever seen. So I would really, really recommend you do that. I don't know how it plays on mouse and keyboard. Maybe it's way better. Maybe it's easier with mouse and keyboard. But the DualSense integration, that's one thing I remember clearly about Returnal, is just that it was so good. So well
images piped into Celine's head
Ratchet
by
and
whatever
Clank,
it is
yeah.
that lives inside the very dirt of the planet. And that's the mystery and the meat that you need to figure out. But what made this game so good is the sublime characterization of bullet hell. Third person on console, resonating on PC, doesn't make the jump. First of all, mouse and keyboard movement allows for control that is magnified and honed to a razor-sharp laser beam of movement on the PC. Diving and dodging and slipping between alien death rays and...
That was a missed opportunity. He could have done the duck, dip, dive. What is it? Duck, dip, dive, dodge, and dodge. He says dodge twice. Dodge, dip, duck, dive, and dodge. Something like that from Dodgeball.
Robotic attacks.
Nobody makes me bleed my own blood.
Celine's control for every single input, though you can still play on the console controller if you want. I love the control on the PS5 originally, though you could tell that some adjustments had to be made for a controller-based system. Here, the jump in fidelity is larger than the light scale Celine supposedly traveled to arrive at the planet in the first place. Shooting and moving and switching to specials feels perfect. The game's infernal loop of positives and negatives for almost everything that you can and do see might bother some people, but it adds that complexity.
It does look hella crisp.
Drinner D donated $10 through Super Chat.
Thank you, my friend.
Returnal was a good game, but the repetitive nature of the story combined with the torture of playing this ish over and over made me narcoleptic. Also, your bullet hell sex joke was clever.
Yeah, I mean, I understand if you want to unsubscribe, but like, I get it. I understand. It's been fun, you know. I understand. Yeah, dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge. That's what it is. If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. Or the other way around. I don't know. Oh man, those Ben Stiller comedies from the mid 2000s were just, there were 1,000 of them. But my goodness, they had some bangers in there. Very quotable too. Oh wow. Unsubbing won't cut it. I'll have to make a new account. Make a new account and then sub and then unsub from that one. Yeah, from both. Oh, did he say digital pad? Is top? Is that what he said? I don't know. He keeps saying that.
And helps the game.
Luke, thank you, by the way. Yes. Duck. Dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge.
Immensely, and the control merged with that means that some of the choices that you make might be slightly different than the PlayStation 5 version. Adding a parasite with positive shield power and letting it reside in your suit might also destroy its ability to build up weapons power as quickly. Does that matter as much if you're doing mouse and keyboard versus the controller? Those are ideas that the devs had to make sure worked here. Each enemy group weirder and harder and more surprising in their attacks than the last. As you move from location to location on the planet, you have to consistently keep chugging away and changing your gameplay as you go. Your expectations, your idea of success may even alter. Where Returnal works so well is the debate between player and game. Whereas you learn the systems, barely sneaking through is acceptable. You think to yourself, all right, that got me through this spot, let's go to the next.
You know what this makes me like really interested in? I want to see what like a Returnal speed run looks like. Because speed runs of these kinds of games are always fascinating because they don't know what they're going to get for each run. Usually, I'm trying to think of an example. There was one, I saw a video on, it was also a roguelike, but basically like they required 1 or 2 items to be the first spawned items. Otherwise you couldn't beat the world record time or get even close to it. So it's kind of tedious because they just have to load into the game, see if they get that item, reload, and then do that until they get the item, and then they have an actual run. But yeah, this would be an interesting one. Does anyone know? We can check that out after this, but do you know, Blackjack, what the rough time was? Because you guys are saying 15 hours, and that to me seems extremely quick based on my experience with the game. But if you're going to tell me that it's like 20 minutes long.
We did that. Let's move on. But unfortunately, you'll face a death. And then the next run, you expect just a bit more from yourself, a bit more on the next run.
Joke's on you, Carrick. I never expect more from myself. What?
Building each time. Seeing a new enemy causes you to reset that idea, but persistently causes you to experiment with what you've learned in a prior location. And that means that each moment of success carries a bit more weight as you move forward,
Jesus.
not only in the current cycle, but honed to a fine edge here. It's Returnal's level design that does continue to resonate even after you're done exploring it. Some kind of ancient Elder Gods mason seems to have built everything. Ever-changing, with the only design plan that sticks through each iteration is to kill you. One of the few games where every single change still feels fresh, where you can tell it's from the same procedural well, though some later levels have a bit of a familiar look to them upon multiple replays, but you're consistently getting something of substance every time you dig. The only thing better than the creepy, overwrought, tangled worlds of Returnal was the gameplay itself. It's a tight exploration of that bullet hell feel, mixed with the science fiction, and it creates its own nomenclature the more you play it. Even the upgrades, that could be downgrades, attach questionable creatures onto your body for improvements, and it becomes this consistent diplomatic endeavor with you thinking, oh, you know what? I need to do this. I need to strap this onto myself, even if it changes or alters me in some other way. And the gameplay has rock-solid weaponry. It's dropped slowly throughout the game based on one of your stats. More and more types with different bonuses and special moves, all built somewhat into an overdrive and timed reload system that rewards players who care to use it, but it doesn't unduly impact those who don't. Any weapon type that you've obtained in previous levels are then accessible as loot in lower levels on another cycle, and battles that were difficult at first change their pace with later weaponry available sooner. Graphically, Returnal looks outstanding. It already did with its creepy mixture of otherworldly planetside romps and mysterious haunted house segments interspersed to consistently give you a moody, creepy vibe. Returnal has a ton of options from various settings for the accuracy of ray tracing, shadows, textures, particles, and otherwise. It also has a large number of settings for resolution scaling, from the very basics to an in-engine version.
That's kind of cool that they actually show you the likely impact of each setting. I like that. That's super cool. And I also, props, I freaking love when developers do this. They give you the screen that you've paused on, and then as you make graphical changes, you see it reflected. That's so great. I love that. It's always so annoying when you are making like changes in a game like Red Dead, and you're like not really sure how it's going to change the look of the game. You just kind of have to guesstimate. But I love this. Like, this is awesome. Dead Space, yeah. I hope it becomes a standard, because I think this is way, way better than, like, you pull up a menu. Certainly better than, like, Callisto Protocol. Callisto Protocol, like, you have to back out to the main menu to make any small changes. It's super weird. Come on. Ugh. It's a snowy day outside. It, like, stormed last night. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
To DLSS and FSR. It doesn't seem to support DLSS 3 at this time. But that means you can also dial this in. The evil...
I did see a TikTok. I think somebody was trolling me, though, because they were describing the graphical settings of Hogwarts Legacy, and they described it as Delus and Fusser, which was triggering to me. I don't think they were being... Like, no way they were being serious, right? No way they were being serious. But like they unironically, seemingly, just casually described it as Delus. DLSS, Delus. Like they thought it was like a word. Like, I don't know why they would call it Delus, but they did. Oh, that's weird. I don't know. There's some weird like TikTok gaming creators who are built different, dude. They're just built different. No, he was like a blonde, like 20 something from the States. Like he didn't have an accent or anything, but he called it Delus and Fusser. Like it was weird. I was about to comment and be like, that's not how you say it. Then I realized maybe this is exactly what he's doing. He wants you to comment and say that's not how that's pronounced so that he gets more comments, more engagement, more views. Maybe he's playing like 4D chess and I'm falling into it. So I didn't comment. All I did is I thought to myself, what a dumbass. That's what I thought.
Full haunted house alien vibes of the game, even in the late.
Under 4 minutes for New Game Plus speedrun. Oh, because you get to start with all of your equipment. Dude, that's freaking insane. I'll look up that one. New Game Plus Returnal speedrun. That's insane.
Or more fantastical parts of Returnal sing. However, it's the color work to me that is exceptional. The deep, mysterious purples of arcane energies consistently draw your eye to the next location, where the red drop of a weapon sits enticingly just out of reach in a prairie that looks almost empty. But when facing enemies and seeing the yellow pulse of an angry power beam, it allows for the player to act almost instinctually, naturally, just to the colors that they see themselves, without having to always parse exactly what that experience may be on the other end until you get there at a later moment's time. And while you're killing and exploring, you get to see this alien and ancient world, stone monoliths etched with alien words tantalizingly translated slowly bit by bit for the main character's computer. Even as she's blasting across a ravine where alien grass blows in mysterious winds that are either the breath of some ancient creature or maybe just the impact force from one of the missiles behind you, you're always looking around, always taking it in, and it is incredible looking. Unfortunately, Returnal on the PC is not without its issues. While the game's requirements for 32 gigs of memory have been dropped, so does the game's apparent requirement for perfectly smooth gameplay. The game does unfortunately have some micro stutter, and it can pop up at the most inopportune times. Even with the 4090 or the 3080, it didn't ever cause a death, but it was noticeable, and you might see in some of this footage. This was running with 64 gigs of RAM on an SSD, as well as testing this on an NVMe with only the game installed. That being said, the game was hitting over 120 FPS with most settings on Epic, though I would suggest to a lot of gamers to check the ray tracing and shadow settings, because at mid and high, they look almost identical to Epic and they can give you back a good deal of FPS, so check that out. While Returnal looks excellent, it does have some performance problems that can crop up. Speaking of performance, let's discuss that music. The music changes dynamically in response to the action on the screen at all times, adding this overall immersion and making each moment feel more intense and impactful, creepy. No matter where you're playing it and what you're doing, it does resonate with movie-style sci-fi alien vibes.
I do remember the music being really cool. Why do all these games have micro stutter? I don't know. It was the same thing that like Alex Battaglia was saying on Twitter, where he was saying that it just seems like a lot of devs are getting away with kind of iffy PC ports, and gamers need to start refunding them and not tolerating it. Otherwise, they're just going to keep doing it. And it's just unacceptable. I mean, I would agree. It's extremely frustrating. I don't know if it's an engine issue. You're saying it's de novo? Maybe. I don't know enough about de novo. Like, are there any videos out there on like de novo versus no de novo FPS? Ooh, this could be it. So this guy took Gotham Knights and then split it and has de novo and de novo less versions of the game running. So he's running 16 gigs of RAM, 1660 Super. So it's like a lower tier PC. Ryzen 5 1600K. Okay. And he's seeing an extra... Wait, so performance is better with de novo? Hold on, get out in the world. I gotta see this. Because this looks like there's zero difference. Like, it actually is running better with Denuvo. I'm guessing, though, this might not be valid. I'm guessing what he did is he went and he got a pirated version of the game, which doesn't have the patches and stuff. So I don't think this is going to be that helpful. I'm guessing that's what it is. Performance impact tested.
Does Denuvo slow game performance?
Because this is obviously like a pretty big myth. People have been saying this for ages, that Denuvo negatively impacts performance. But I don't know if it's actually true. No Denuvo on Steam, 52 FPS, 8692, 138, 144, or 141. So like a handful of FPS. But is that enough to like really make a difference? Maybe the micro stutter is tied to it, but I don't know. Because there was a little stutter there. I don't know, it does seem to consistently take longer to render each frame. But 67. Okay, so some games it makes a big difference. Mass Effect Andromeda, it's like 20 frames. So I guess it can make a big difference, but it seems like it's a game by game basis. It seems like some games there's no difference at all, and the other games there's a massive one. So it still lands on the developers. 19 frames, love that. 75, 71, okay. Denuvo causes low CPU utilization. Okay. So, I mean, I don't know. And there's other types of it than just Denuvo. There's other types of anti-cheat, but I don't know. Maybe it might be tied to anti-cheat. It might also just be that there's some weird issue with drivers. It might be that there's a handful of other issues that are affecting it. I don't know. Game stutter because we all pre-order them? Yeah, probably. Lesson learned. Boycott pre-orders. Do that. Let's do... Hold on. You guys have been saying to check out the video game Dunkey video on Hogwarts. It's only 2 minutes long, so let's see it. Oh, did I say anti-cheat? I meant anti-tamper. That's what I meant. Anti-tamper, not anti-cheat. Okay, let's see Dunkey's thing, and then we'll go. You're right, I did say that. Okay, we'll do this, then we'll do the Returnal speedrun thing. I want to see that, and then we'll go from there.
Here I am with the new game Harry Potter Legacy. Sorry about that, everybody. I did not know about the whole situation behind that game, so instead we're going to be playing the new Rick and Morty game. I feel like I need to apologize again. I did not know that the dude who makes that game was a sexual weirdo, so instead we're going to be playing Overwatch 2. Okay, apparently the team behind Overwatch was doing some really messed up stuff behind the scenes, so... Okay, apparently the team behind Assassin's Creed was doing some really messed up stuff. Okay, apparently the director on that game was fired for unspeakable acts, so we're doing Dead Space. I did not know that EA was funding a blood diamond mining operation. I am now trending on Twitter. People are calling me more evil than Voldemort, so instead we're going to be playing. Sonic fans are now attempting to sue me for defamation. I don't think that's how it works, but just to be safe, we're going to be playing Last of Us Part 2 instead. Gamers, I made a big mistake. I'm getting in a lot of trouble today. I did not realize Last of Us 2 was a woke type game, so instead we're playing the most unwoken game, Sleeping Dogs. I did not know that Square Enix had retroactively added NFTs to that game, so instead we're playing WWE 2K22. That was a fucking disaster. Apparently Hulk Hogan has been saying crazy shit. I don't want any kind of evil energy on this video, so we're going back to the classic SmackDown vs. Raw 2004. This is a different, non-controversial game with no...
Oh.
So today we're going to be playing Fortnite.
If you don't know, Chris Benoit is the wrestler that killed his entire family and then killed himself. So, not a great guy.
Night where I am going to be using the Will Smith skin. I just now found out about the Will Smith situation, so instead we're going to be playing. I just don't like Valorant, so instead I'm playing Bad Boys 2. I'm sorry to all my fans that were upset about the previous game. I forgot that Bad Boys 2 also had Will Smith in it, so instead we're going to be playing the Shark Tale. Even though it wasn't Will Smith who voiced him in the video game, I feel like just out of respect to the families, I shouldn't play that game. That was a bad call. We're playing Gex. This game is rated E. It's a classic game. Everybody here loves Gex. This is the only game I trust.
Ah, ancient Chinese level. I'm Tom Wu. You can be a millionaire. Dr. Jones, you will never get all 3 chakra stones. With a level 6, you get aggro.
Today we're going to be playing Spider-Man 2.
Well played, Dunkey. Well played. That was... made the point. This is the only game I trust. There's nothing that could possibly be wrong with this game. Oh, man. That's pretty good.
He took my thing.